till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for a beer.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is behind the beers. We're gonna pull the curtain back, take a look behind the scenes, and reveal the things you need to know about the people who are called to lead your churches and your ministries. I'm Joshua Fowler. I'm a preaching ministry in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My partner here on the other side of the screen is a youth minister in Topeka, Kansas. More importantly, he's a good friend, a great brother, and a mentor of sorts to me. So, Aaron, what's going on this morning, man?
Just a regular Tuesday morning here in Topeka. So it is hot in Topeka, but it is what it is.
Just a regular Tuesday morning. What does a regular Tuesday morning in Topeka, Kansas look like?
For me or for like the regular Topekian? I don't even know if that's right, Topekian, but it sounds really cool.
Topekan. I think you had an extra I in there.
Well, this morning, sometimes to save time, you just need to combine words.
That's
this
right.
morning, my wife has the day off. So I am working my schedule. Usually Friday, Saturdays are my days off, which is like a whole different topic. Like, because when are most youth events? Fridays and Saturdays.
Right.
So doesn't really work out that super well. So I will be, after this, I will be taking the day off and spending it with my lovely wife and my son. Got some plans, got some things that we're going to be doing. Might go play some Frisbee golf today, so looking forward to that. Then I will be spending my Friday working.
Good old froth, as you used to say. Go play some
I
froth.
shot a +4 the other day at 18. I was feeling really good.
Oh, +4.
But man, like, I am so weak compared to like when I was in college. Like, I cannot believe how far I used to throw that Frisbee. Takes a lot of extra grunting to get it to go pretty far now.
Yeah, man, I was so there's a couple little courses around. There's one over at Highland Road Park that I don't play enough to know well. But there's one of the guys I play with. He's like, "Oh no, we have right over here." So, but we picked up this guy who was kind of he was there. He was by himself. He's like, "You mind if I jump in with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." By the way, we're playing the short ones, right? We're not playing the my elbow and my shoulder. Can't handle it right now. But we're playing with this guy, and he just like flips this thing out there, and it just carries and carries and carries. I'm like, dude, that's not fair. Like I am throwing with all of my might, and I've got 3/4 of that distance.
Right? Yeah, I recently just taught somebody to play, and you have those discs in your bag that you find or other stuff like that that don't have markings on them. So I was like, oh well, here, yeah, try throwing this disc. Instantly doubles the length of his throw. Throws like ridiculously well now. And I was like, I'm gonna need that back.
Yeah. Also probably illegal.
No, it's a legit disc. It was a good disc.
Jonathan,
I just don't like it.
What in the world is Togepi? I am not really
Togepi?
sure.
That would be a Pokemon.
I thought he was.
Yeah, boomer.
Hey, I know my Pokemon, at least the ones that are in Pokemon Go. So, you forget I have a
Togepis
son.
are in Pokemon Go.
Okay, just not one that.
I have a shiny.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, we've digressed. Maybe it's because we
We
don't get
have.
very much sleep.
We are. Yeah, that's probably it. We should probably talk about something ministry related.
Man, we're getting ready to take a little trip to Lake Charles tomorrow. Taking 4 or 5 guys out there to do some cleanup work. One of my partners in my football officials association has a friend out there, and I talked to him last night, and he said, we got a mess. Just it's one of the worst storms damage-wise that we've seen. And I'd say I can't imagine what this would have looked like had those 2 storms lined up like they said it was going to and hit the mouth of Mississippi and New Orleans days apart. But there's a lot of work to be done out in about from Lake Charles to Monroe. It's not very often you see a storm get 3.5 hours inland and still be hurricane strength. So
yeah, no joke.
we're gonna go put on some dirty clothes and do some manual labor tomorrow. So hopefully nobody keels over from the heat.
Yeah, no joke. I bet it's hot.
No power, which means no AC, no gas, no food, no ice. So we'll be carrying everything everything with us we can.
Isn't that crazy? Just like it feels like in the drop of a hat, like your schedule, everything you had planned can just instantly change. We have to be so flexible, like in our lives. But I feel like ministers and ministry in general, like if you're not flexible, like you're gonna break. Like it's not gonna work. Like you have to be flexible. One, the job requires you to be flexible. Two, the lifestyle requires you to be flexible. And that's a good talk for some time. When are we too flexible? I think we've hit on that note a little bit, where we've got to take care of our family and such, but at the same time, like we do have to be, you have to be flexible, and we have those like really weird schedules. This is my favorite point I'm gonna make. This is my transition in. I was working on this, okay? That like so often like people will compare us to teachers, right? And I always love that because I sit there and I go, but don't teachers have summers off? And I know there's plenty of other teachers out there who like work side jobs or do summer school and do all this other kind of stuff. And that's cool. Like, I think that's great. And I think you should, if that's what you want to do, then do that. But I'm like, but I work like double, twice as hard in the summer. And, it's almost like, that should be like overtime pay or something, like crazy, the weird schedules that we have to work in the summer.
Yeah. So, it's hard enough, like in the home, when the kids are out of school, I don't say as a young minister, as a young person, I didn't really understand that. I say that we had kids pretty early, but when you have kids that get into school and then the summer schedule comes and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, they're home and they're home all the time. I still have to go to work. We were very, very fortunate that my wife was able to work out of our home doing some childcare and things. So, and a lot of the childcare she did were for, a lot of friends who didn't have that ability. And during the school year, she would do childcare for teachers because that allowed her to be home with our kids when we were out of school, have the same kind of vacation schedule and holiday schedule. But summer schedules are so bizarre. And I used to tell my church in Kansas City, especially in youth work, right? It's not so much the case as a preaching minister, although you're dealing with a whole different range of family schedules in the summer. But I used to tell my elders when May 1st would come around or when June 1st would come around, I was like, hey guys, I'm headed to Soul Quest and I'll see you in 3 months. And they're like, what? Yeah, what do you mean? It's like, well, we got Soul Quest and then we're back for 3 days and we're going to Honduras for 2 weeks. And then we'll be back for 3 days and then we're going out to camp. And then I'll be back for 2 days before we leave for a family vacation just to take a breath. And then I'll get back and I'll be at the senior session of camp. And then we'll have our end of the summer activities. And then come September 1st, I might be able to breathe. So
I know. It is wild to sit there and tell somebody and be like, oh, yeah, I am literally gone 7.5 weeks out of, 12 weeks.
Right.
And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like I'm gone. And the best part about that is exactly what you said. I'm going to go here for 2 weeks. I'm going to come home for 2 days. Those 2 days are not restful days. No. Like, it doesn't matter how much pre-planning, how much pre-buying, how much anything that you can do. Those 2 days are always full of, which parents, if there's any parents watching and you wonder why sometimes your youth minister is a little bit cranky when you're like, oh, well, I'm just now getting it's because they have spent a lot of time preparing and pre-planning And then all of a sudden, there's like always like not just one, but like 4 or 5 who are like, oh, well, I know this is last minute, but it's okay, right? And you're like, yes, I want to be there and spiritually transform your child, and I want them to have this experience, but
come on, man,
get it sooner. Come on, man. Come on, man.
So we used to always come home. I think about Soul Quest, and I think about our camps that we would do when we were there at Tallgrass together. When we would come home on that Saturday night, I never in my life have been so filled and so exhausted at the same time. Oh,
absolutely.
And I remember I had one group of parents who said, hey, man, we'd love to come out there and help you. You need chaperones. Yes, I always need chaperones at Soul Quest.
Always.
I always need chaperones for these things. It's me and sometimes me and my wife and sometimes 20, 30, or 40 kids. So the more adult eyes I can have on these kids, the better. It's like, okay, so what does a week look like at Soul Quest? It's like, well, we start at 7 a.m. And we wrap up the day at midnight. And then you and I get to go to bed around 12:30 once we make sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be. Nobody's out loitering or lingering around. And then you got to be at the breakfast hall by 7 when the kids start arriving to make sure that everybody's up and awake and out of bed. And throughout the day, you have a little bit of time to rest, but for the most part, we're going. From activity to Bible class to worship to activity to Bible class to worship. It's so filling. So fulfilling.
And then you get to drive home 12 hours in a very large van full of kids who are all going to fall asleep on the way home.
Yeah.
But don't worry, on the way there, they're going to scream and yell because they're so excited to get.
Yeah.
Actually, now they're all watching Netflix and other things. But yeah.
So it's just such a bizarre shift, right? Because you go from the school year where it's like, okay, Friday and Saturday, maybe a Wednesday night, but they've got school activities, so everything is a little bit kind of tame, although the weekends are still kind of late. To summertime hits, and because they're home all day, like, hey, man, let's go hang out. I'm going to be up there at the youth room. We're going to come play ping pong. We're going to go over here. And that activity ends up lasting into the evening and the night. And because they don't have to get up in the morning, I still got an office hour to keep. They don't. But you're not going to leave them if they want to spend some time with you. So,
or I've still got a lesson to prep.
Yeah, true.
That's
for
a
class
big one
tonight.
For me. Yeah, for class tonight in a couple hours. I gotta still put that together. Yeah, that always amazes me. I was training some teen. I always want to say teens because they were teens. Some volunteers to be directors at camp. And one of the Zooms that we had, one of the conversations that we had was about, okay, so what do you do as a director? And I said, it's really great. I said, you know how staff meeting starts at this time? Yeah, I get up at this time. They're like, how staff meeting starts at like 7? Yeah, I get up at 6:30. Why do you do that? Well, I make sure the coffee's going. I make sure I get a cup of coffee. I said I pray over the staff and over the camp, and then I get my notes together for staff meeting, which I don't know if you know, I run. I said, then you get to do this. You got to make sure all the activities are lined up. You got to make sure everyone's plugged in and knows exactly what they're doing. I said, then you got to deal with the problems because there's always problems, not enough toilet paper. Aaron, I don't know where the key to this is. I don't know where this. So you got to take care of all that. Then your cooks are like, hey, I don't know what happened, but I didn't buy eggs. Crazy, right? And you're like, how did you not buy eggs? So you got to deal with that.
Who needs eggs for breakfast?
And then you got to be like, oh, well, I got to do a morning announcements, or I got to lead singing, or I got to teach Bible class, or I got to lead the encounter. You got going, and then it gets to the evening, and you have evening worship, and it's awesome, and you got to send everyone to bed, but then on that you got to make sure everyone gets their meds, right? You gotta go sit by the nurses, check in with the nurse. Hey, let me go ahead and make sure everyone okay, and let me go hunt down these same 4 kids. Talk to their counselors, make sure they go take their meds. Oh, they didn't do it again.
And when it comes to that, there are a handful of kids whose their medication is like allergy medication, and if they don't take it, they get a stuffy nose or their eyes water. there are some of those kids who, if they don't get what they need in the evening or the morning, completely revolutionizes your week.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, no. This needs to be
yeah.
right. This needs to be right.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you're like, you know what? I haven't had any me time. So then you play ping pong with a guy till about 1 or 2 a.m. and then you start your day all over again. You know.
I know. And then the guy you're playing ping pong with is ready to keep going till 2:30 or 3.
Right.
But somebody's tired and needs to go to bed.
But the younger guy is like, oh man, I need at least 8 hours of sleep, which I ain't gonna get. So let me go sleep on this really hard, uncomfortable camp mattress.
What do they say? Sleeps for the week. My dad used to say, "That's all right. I'll sleep when I'm dead."
Yeah, I know. I never felt more dead than at the end of summer.
Yeah, it's the other thing that kind of comes with. We were just talking about it, in the beginning. You have everything kind of planned, laid up. I know what my days are going to look like. Monday's a recoup day. Tuesday is a day where we kind of put everything together. Wednesday, the Bible class comes kind of into form. Thursday, the sermon comes into form. Friday, I have a day off. Saturday, the mind is just going nuts. And then Sunday.
Saturday is, what did I forget?
That's right. Yeah. But, people's needs, they don't arrive on your schedule, right?
No. No, they don't.
Illnesses, tragedies, celebrations, accidents, sometimes just those personal crises or needs for advice or just calls for help. That call for help, like just recently, yes, recently and multiple times. I'm sure you've gotten this call. It's 10:30 or midnight or 1 a.m. Hey, I'm at this party and I don't feel comfortable and I need someone to come pick me up. I'm afraid to call my parents. What do you say to that? I'll pencil you in at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I've got some free time.
Yeah, right. The answer is, hey, babe, yeah, we gotta wake Sam up and we're gonna go pick up so and so and take him home.
Yeah,
so there's 2 of us and we're gonna take him home, and people don't understand that stress that's placed on your spouse and those moments and things like that, because my wife gets up super early to go to work, and her heart says, yeah, absolutely, let's go, let's go do it, and we go and do it, and but yeah, I've been in those situations recently and like a lot, and you got to be there. Like, hey, I don't know how I got in this situation, but I need you to pick me up and then walk me through it with my parents or whatever. And I've also had that call in the summer at like 2:00 in the afternoon. Hey, right. I'm over at my friend's house and they're doing stuff I don't want to be a part of. Can you? Or there's. Yeah, it's crazy and it's emotionally tolling, but our phone doesn't turn off.
No, it doesn't
very often.
And even when it does, like, I don't know about you, but when my phone is off, I feel guilty. Not because
stressed.
Not because I feel the need to be connected to my phone all the time, but there's the part of me that says, what if someone needs something and I was taking some time for me and they needed something from me. Not saying that's the healthiest way to go about it, right? Because
absolutely,
self-care is so important to be able to keep yourself in a position where you're able, to show up in those moments. I've had some of those messages that come like as Bible class is starting, and I've had to say, all right, hey, we're gonna take a moment here because I need to address this. And if I'm on my phone in the middle of class, it's not because this isn't important. It's because there's this other crisis that's going on at the same time, and it just is what it is. Ideally, someone would step up and say, "Hey, hand me your notes. Let me teach class for you. You go take care of that."
Right? Yeah.
But I don't know that that's a fair thing to ask or expect of people either. So,
I've never met that person. I'd like to meet that person. That'd be cool.
I also don't know the person who would be able to take my notes and decipher them and make them into a class. Because
that is very true.
They're geared very specifically for the way my mind works, and I've been told it doesn't work the same as others. So
Yeah,
Um,
I could see that.
there's so much.
Yeah,
though,
but that inconvenience.
Yeah.
That inconvenience is just almost like a way of life. I love how there's something that you said earlier I wanted to talk about. You said you have this idea of how your day is gonna go. Man, I love those days when I sit there and I have a full list of things I want to get done, and then at the end of the day I go, what happened? Where was it? I guess I went and did this, and I went and did this, and so and so's hips broken, and they needed someone to mow their lawn, so I went and mowed their lawn, so all of a sudden your whole day went, and you didn't get anything done that you needed to get done, but you were doing work in ministry all day.
Yeah, that's right.
That always seems to happen, like when I'm trying to prep for camp or something like that. Like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend today, and I'm gonna do all this. And then before I know it, like the day's over and I didn't get to any of it because said so-and-so had come up.
Sometimes I think the more convinced I am how a day is going to go, the harder God laughs and says,
Yeah.
you got some other things coming down your way today. And usually what I find is in those moments, like I'm thinking about, this week, we'll probably Wednesday and Friday we'll probably be out in the Lake Charles area helping some people clean up after the hurricane. I don't have time in my week to just take 2 days and completely reassign them. Not partially, not a couple of hours, but to completely reassign them.
Mm-hmm.
But when that happens and those days have to be reassigned, I generally discover I do have the ability. You do have the ability to say, okay, let's look at the rest of the week. What's important? What can go? What needs to stay? What do I need to prioritize so that these things can occur? And I find myself in those moments maybe the most productive because it's pressing.
Yeah.
I think about, writing a paper at OC. You've had weeks to prepare for this paper. But the months sometimes, yes. The night before it's due, we would have dinner. Heather and I would, put the kids in bed. We would go to bed, lay down, watch a TV or show or something, and then she would go to sleep, and then I would get up, go make a pot of coffee, sit down, and start hammering out a paper that I should have written 4 weeks ago, but just couldn't wrap my mind around the concept. And then in the span of about 7 hours, it's done, annotated, booked, ready to go. I just got to show up and print it. And then I get done, put everything away, go wake up the kids, and the printer doesn't work, right. But just that all-nighter. Something about, being pressed in that moment. Like the pressure's on, you got no option, get it done, or you fail. Pushes you into that place where you discover some things about yourself that maybe you didn't know before. You did all yours early, though, right? You were always done weeks ahead of time.
I was always done a couple days. Well, I'm such a bad speller and grammatically incorrect all the time that I had to get it done like 2 or 3 days before so that I could find someone that I trust and been like, hey, could you fix this so I could pass? I never once got a comment on any of my papers of, well, I don't agree with this theologically here. Boy, you were really off. It was always grammar was a little off. Misspelled a couple words. Who taught you how to
spell?
And I was like, come on. Not saying that I'm theologically sound, but
they say, dude, Aaron, we have spell check.
Grammar sticks out more. I know.
There's a little red squiggly line under every word that's misspelled. And I said, I thought that was just neat decoration that word put on my papers to tell me it was pretty.
I should work for them because I break spell check. I will be red line free and there will be misspellings. That's how good I am.
Yeah, you misspell words so poorly that they spell new words.
That's right. I invent new languages. I just sent an email out to parents, and I spent a long time on it. And I sent it out, and I texted Lauren. I said, "Hey, did you read my email? What'd you think?" She's like, "Yeah, if you want to send them to me to proof them, I will. I'll do that for you." And I'm like, no wonder nobody takes me seriously. I spell like a child.
No wonder your wife and my wife are friends.
Yeah. That was their first comment. Was, "What? If you can send them to me beforehand, and I'll proof them for you."
I don't even have to ask. What did you think of that? Like,
Right.
I think my most recent one was, Saturday. I sent out an email and was like, all right, here's the deal. Sunday afternoon, there's a group from New Orleans going out. They're going to be staying on the other side of Lake Charles in a cooked warehouse. And on and on and on with all the details. And so I hear my wife from the other room say, you should really let me read these before you send them. I'm like, what? She goes, what in the world is a cooked warehouse? I said, cooled warehouse. Cooked. But hey, you misspell it.
No AC.
It's the exact opposite of a cooked warehouse. It's a cooled warehouse.
Right.
Just
crazy.
Hey, if an email went out and it was perfectly, grammatically perfect and spelling was perfect and no typographical errors, people would think I was doing something wrong.
Right. Oh yeah. So our next note here is something that I have never struggled with. This, I don't know about you. So talk to me about this. Do you ever have sleepless nights before a big activity? Or wondering what could have been better? I do struggle with that. I can say I have laid awake going more like, should I have said that? That's usually what it is.
Who am I getting a call from tomorrow?
Yeah. Like an angry email is more like it. Nobody talks to me in person. But
yeah.
An email or a text.
So it's not always sleepless nights for me.
Right.
Although it's just late. It takes me forever to go to sleep because it's always, I'm thinking, what's coming up? Did I get everything prepared? Do I have the right things? And then inevitably, whether it's part of the teaching or part of the setup or, it's did I reserve the vans? Am I going to show up at Enterprise and the guy Enterprise typically it is oh, sorry, man, our 15-passenger van hasn't returned yet. And it's dude, I got 45 kids waiting for me at the church building. What do you have that I can take? I was well, we got 2 minivans. It's how am I going to get 45 kids in 2 minivans? I reserved 3 15-pack vans for a purpose, and you said you had them. You said you would have them. I've had them reserved for weeks. So the things that are out of my control, they just plague my mind because to me, those things reflect back on me. Whether that's true or not, is debatable. But in my mind, they do. So that keeps me up.
I hear about that. There's also the I call it I have to wind down. It takes me a long time to wind down after an event. So Wednesday nights are always the worst for me. So this Wednesday night, we're going to do an in-person devotional, high energy. I've got that energy. I'm talking to kids. We're hanging out. We're singing songs. We're doing stuff. It's not like I just go home and go to bed. That doesn't happen for me. And it also we do elder meetings, staff elder meetings. So tomorrow night we'll have a staff elder meeting. I leave an elders meeting and I'm charged with an energy too.
Right.
And so I get home and I've gotten into bed and Lauren's kicked me out and been you're just all over the place. You need to go and do something so I can get some sleep. So church is over at 8, elders meetings over at 10:30, 11 sometimes. Well, I'm not ready to fall asleep until 1, 2 a.m. Well, that makes Thursday's a long day sometimes when I've got that charge or that feeling. I'm just wound up from everything. It'd be curious to get an elder's opinion and see what they what happens. How do they feel after a Wednesday night elder meeting, or if other churches even do Wednesday night elder meetings? I don't know, but
ours usually on Sunday afternoons. There is that. I mean, even when something has gone really well.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. I just have that adrenaline.
And then I just want to talk about it to anybody that'll listen, which is usually my wife, and she's like, "Babe, I got to go to sleep." And it's yeah, but I need to call somebody then. Who can I call at 12? Sorry, Aaron or Jonathan. It's probably not Jonathan. He's an hour later than us. He's over in Kentucky. So if it's midnight my time, it's 1:00 his time. And his wife is pregnant, so she's in that sleepy mode right now, I think. And he's in making sure she's comfortable mode, because I know what kind of dad and husband Jonathan is. So yeah, it's just one of those things that just consumes, the mind, the thought, the emotions. That because we want to do our best, right? We want to provide what is best. That was okay. That's not acceptable for me.
Right.
It should be at times. And I've given this advice to so many people. Everything you do can't be a home run. Every once in a while, you're going to hit a single, you're going to hit a double, you're going to hit a triple, and then you're going to knock some out of the park. But you can't
strike out.
Or sometimes, hey, let's not talk about strikeouts, okay? But some of them do. Some of them just flop, and it's just the natural, the part of just the natural ebb and flow of human activity. Acts chapter 6 may be the greatest miracle in all of the Scripture. Right? I told this to the church the other day that the apostles made a decision, and this pleased everyone in their presence. Like,
whoa, everyone?
Really? They all agreed?
That is amazing. I never caught that.
So there's just this such a pressure, because you know the good that this can do for people, for young people, for older people, for parents, for families, for single people, that you just want all of your events just to go and to go like you've planned them. What I really struggle with is in the moment, once the plan is going off, I'm really good at kind of adapting and just saying, okay, God, whatever you need this to be, it's yours. The Spirit's going to move me and shape me, and it's going to create in this flow. But leading up to that, surrendering control is something that really, it's just really, really a challenge for me. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a lot of that too is learning how to for me, it's a lot of breathing. For me, it's all about when I want to release control and when I've got to give things over. It's all about breathing for me. I don't know what it is about breathing. I mean, those Eastern religions really have something to do with like breathing through it and just being like, okay, well, it is what it is. Like I can do my part and I can bring my best, but it doesn't mean it's gonna go.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't say it was hot yoga that you were dependent on.
Oh, yeah, I do a lot of hot yoga.
Goat yoga, I could get behind, but
we actually call it hot broga. So,
it's
bunch of us bros get together.
Oh,
no women
funny.
allowed in our yoga class.
The other aspect, which kind of comes in with so much of what goes on, is like a lot of times we see an activity, and there are a handful of people who see the wider scope of that activity. Like I think about our Polar Express night here we do around Christmas time every year. Get together, everybody shows up. The whole gym is decorated like a scene out of a Hallmark movie. There's a snowscape, there's trees up, there's a little spot for the jolly old fat man to come in and visit the kids. Our pipe and drapes are up, the tables are decorated like train cars. We've got a hot chocolate station and a popcorn bar and all kinds of different things that come in. And that begins on Sunday afternoon with a service project for the fire station here that we share a parking lot with. And so some people will come in, they'll wrap gifts for the staff at the elementary school across the street. Some will come in and make cookies for the fire station. Some will just come in and enjoy the movie and the fellowship. But it's just an event.
Right.
I get to see the 4 or 5 ladies that spend day after day after day for weeks before making the decorations. And, I know the work that goes into finding the families that we're going to serve and the staff that we're going to do our service project with and connecting with the fire station. There's just so much that is entailed in organizing a big group of people. And by big group of people, I'm talking, 15 or more. That there's just so much that goes into that kind of prep.
Yeah. It's like the setup and takedown of events is dramatic. I remember, so my favorite, I shouldn't say favorite preaching intern, but one of our favorite preaching interns that we ever had at Central was so funny. His name was Trevor Rick, and last minute, someone came to me and said, "You know what, Aaron? We should really have VBS shirts." Okay, scope out a little bit. We were doing a VBS at Central, and then taking that VBS up to Canada and doing it. So I ordered my boys Sunday Cool shirts for us when we went to Canada, but they were not going to be in time for the Central VBS.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because they had more of a mission trip Canadian theme as well. So last minute, a prominent couple parents said, "We're not having VBS shirts for here. How will people know if we're a part of the church or anything like that?" So I was told by one of my shepherds, "Aaron, you need to solve that problem." Literally 24 hours before we're going to start VBS. So Trevor and I get in my Buick at the time. We drive to every Walmart. First off, you have to get everyone's t-shirt size who's involved. That's a nightmare. That took a couple hours right there. Yes, because you ain't guessing Susan's size. That's dangerous territory. So we jump in my Buick. We go to all these different Walmarts. I didn't know we had all these Walmarts in Topeka. It's wild. Just buying the same colored green shirt that we can in every size. I'm calling Walmarts. "Hey, do you have this shirt? Great. Can you hold them for me? I'm coming." They're like, "What?" Then I go and I buy those iron-on designs. Lauren, by the way, is at home doing her artsy thing, designing a VBS shirt. It was like spy themed or whatever. Sends it to us. We finally get back. We spend that night watching, I think it was The Office or Friends or something, on the TV in the youth room, cutting out these designs, then ironing them on for 50 shirts. And that was my rest day before BBS. That doesn't include like painting like this 40-foot tall like banner to be a cityscape, making sure all the costumes, everything else that you have to do to make sure everything's going to run smoothly the next day. To last minute have to create 50. So we had some that were like dark green, some that were a little bit lighter green, but they were all green.
They were shades of green.
It's just
because the kicker is you're going off a budget too, right?
Oh,
mean, it's not like you have unlimited capital to spend. And so, yes, I want to do this. I want it to be effective, but also I have to understand that, I could go to this T-shirt shop and they could have me some T-shirts printed in about 12 hours if I'm willing to pay $35 a shirt.
Yeah.
Which, I just don't have that. So when someone says go handle it, they mean handle it and handle it cheap. Which reminds me of the different ways that we would like run around Topeka, getting ready for camp, trying to find some of the most bizarre supplies for a camp activity or for Camp Wars or for an encounter. And, the looks you would get when it's like, I need 150 pool noodles.
Right, yeah.
How many stores do you have to go to at the end of the summer to find 150 pool noodles?
In the summer. Or inner tubes. Remember when we had to, we could not find inner tubes?
Yes. For poor man sumo.
To save our lives. We went to, so many different stores, and they're like, no. We eventually got, tire tubes.
Tire tubes, yes.
That was crazy.
They
my favorite moment in Washington was going in, and I wish I would have gone with somebody else and worn the Mario and Luigi outfits, but walking in and then purchasing 126 plungers
for Plocky
for a game called Plocky. And the look on someone's, like, when she was checking me out was like, how many do you have? It's like 126. And I was like, you don't want to know what kind of clog I'm dealing with. And she just about like fell over. And then I was like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm a youth minister and this is for a game and yada, yada, yada. But also very difficult to find that many plungers. I actually got there luckily on a stock day at Home Depot, and I bought them out of their cheap plungers. It's kind of funny.
That is, how many do you want? All of them. Just put them all in. Do you have any in the back I can take as well?
That's right.
Yeah,
or in your bathrooms. I don't care. It's fine. I'll wash them.
Yeah, right. Can I get a discount, please? I'll take anything at a discount. That mentality, first one in, last one out. That kind of comes along with that. It goes along with the setup and tear down. There's so much that leads up to it. But I think about, on Sundays, when I get here, and this is not going to be early for some, but it's early for me because of how late the nights tend to be. But, my Sunday starts about 5 a.m. here. Because, I'm gonna be here at the church building, a few hours before Bible class starts, just to make sure everything's in order. I go through the different classrooms, and I pray over the things that will go on in those rooms. I pray over the people that will fill, the auditorium, when we were allowed to fill the auditorium.
Right. Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into that, and then afterwards, I talked to a lot of our building guys who are there for security and lockup. And church is over and it's been 30 minutes, and they're like, "Hey, you guys about done?" And it's like, "I'll lock up. Don't worry about it." As long as people are around and engaging one another and having that fellowship, I'm gonna allow that space, which generally means that if we're meeting someone for lunch, and they've already gone to the restaurant, then we're gonna get there in order as they're eating.
Yeah.
We have a group we meet with on Sunday nights, and I'll take what's left around the table as far as seating goes. But it's not something that is begrudging. It's something that is done because we know how valuable that time is and that space is, and
how it comes across too. Sometimes we used to have a problem. I was working at a church, and they used to have this problem of they would have a deacon who was in charge of locking up the church. Well, they'd want to get to lunch, so they would people would be in the auditorium fellowshipping and talking, and boom, 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 all the lights. Guess church is over. Guess we're shutting it down. And they would walk out and be like, "I'm locking the doors," and it would be like, man, what does that say? And we had visitors who were there, and the lights get turned off on them. I will say this: there are people who see the bigger picture sometimes, and I appreciate those people who will come to me and say, "Hey, I'll clean up. You take off. It's okay." And that's hard for me to accept sometimes, because there's a guilt that goes with that. Well, no,
it's my responsibility.
It's my responsibility.
Right.
I need to do this. I'm in charge of our New Year's party every year. I don't know how that happened. Honestly, I have no idea how that happened. But the last couple of years, there's been a couple families that say, no, Aaron, you set up, you did all this, you did the devotional, you got all the games and everything ready. You head home. We'll finish doing the tables and cleaning up. And I'm like, man, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's all they did. That's all they did for that entire event was, hey, I'm gonna come and clean up. Mm-hmm. Our janitor at Central, he's one of those guys. He'll just come in and be like, don't clean it up. I'll get to it tomorrow. Because he's like, I'm already gonna come in tomorrow, and I'm gonna have to pull everything out and clean it anyway. So just don't worry about it.
Yeah. So when you come up later and it's not done, you don't need to do it. I got it. Right.
Yeah, he's gonna do it. And my favorite thing is this: is I'll go to him, and his name's Tom Lawnard, and I love this guy. And I say, hey, I'm sorry, I forgot to do this. And he'll be like, well, guess I'll just drink another cup of coffee. Like that's his answer for like everything and anything. Is, well, I guess I'll just drink another cup of coffee. So bless his heart. I love that man. He does an awesome job, and he's so good. And when a couple episodes ago, we talked about finding darts in the auditorium. He loves finding Nerf darts in like the craziest places. Like he's like, I found this here. That's crazy. How'd you guys even? I mean, it's funny. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to go around the church and place darts in places,
just for him to find them.
Like I found this in the bottom of a coffee cup or a coffee can. What?
Yeah, crazy. I have most of my guys that lock up know now that if I'm here, I just need you to leave me the lights in one door. As long as everything else, if I don't worry about the hallway, I don't have to worry about all this other stuff. You can lock up the rest of the building. Just leave us an exit and lights, and I will always take care of the exits and the lights. That one thing, and so it's kind of the way it runs now. Is they kind of come up and say, "Hey, you got it?" I was like, "I got it." He said, "All right, just the lights and that door. Everything else is good." I'm like, golden. But it's a big difference. It's kind of the honor, right? It's the honor of the position that you're in to kind of be that first one in, last one out, making sure that everyone has everything they could possibly need to do what they need to do in this life of Christianity. So
I take that solace at the end of church camp when the last camper leaves, last counselor leaves, and I'm standing there at tall grass by myself, like when I got there, because when I get there, I'm by myself. I'm the first one there. The cooks have been out, but they're gone, and they'll come back a little bit later. And you have that quiet moment where it's just me and God, and I'm at the start of camp, I'm in awe of what he's gonna do. At the end of camp, I'm in awe at what he just did for that whole week, and I'm just, Lauren's like, well, you're gonna be home a little bit later, and I'm like, yeah. I said, because I'm gonna take that time, and I'm gonna take that time and pray and thank God for what a blessing, what an amazing week. And that's the same thing for me. Like at the end of a mission trip, the last kid gets picked up. I don't hop in my car and peel out and leave right away. I just kind of take a moment. You just kind of have those moments where you look around. It's that honor that you kind of say, but it's also, for me, it's that thanks God for letting me be a part of this.
And the remarkable thing is, even with my imperfection, the ways in which my planning has fallen short, the ways in which Camp Wars or a sermon or an order of worship or an encounter failed in ways, when you look back over the whole picture, you can kind of take that moment and you see some things you didn't get to see in the moment, right? In that moment of reflection, that says, man, I am sure glad God is able to work through this jar of clay, right? Through this clay vessel that needs to be shaped and molded and painted and fixed over and over again. So, well, brother, we got a little longer than usual. You got any parting words before we take off? I just tell the guys, press on. Remember the guys that work for you. Remember that what you see is just a very, very small portion of what transpires in those activities. And I look forward to talking about kind of our families and some of the ways that works out with them next week.
I think it's important just to remember to just what we always say at the end of every episode, Galatians 6:9. And we hope that through this entire podcast, through everything that we say, that we're not giving off this message that we're weary, that we're upset, that we're angry, or that we're complaining. Instead, we want to encourage in this idea of understanding and knowing. So don't grow weary in doing good. Ministry's rough. It's a long life. It's a long road. But taking those moments and finding that solace in God and remembering He's in control, that's the power source that we tap into. So from here, from Behind the Beards, I'm Aaron, and this is Josh, and we'll be excited to see you again next week if you come by and join us.
Till we're all growing a beard. A man's face should never be bare. We just want some facial hair. We're anticipating, yeah, everyone's waiting for beard.